Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the session on e-procurement, which is nothing but electronic procurement, a subject which is very close to my heart. In one way, it reflects my own journey of 40 years in this field of procurement and supply chain. Traditionally, when I look back 4 decades back, even 3 decades back, procurement was nothing but preparing, writing specifications, identifying suppliers, evaluating and placing an order on paper. Everything was paper based. Purchase orders were on paper based. Printing was also like that. So later on, things slowly start with the technology change, with the internet coming around. I remember my days when I was in Geneva in 87, 88. We were developing EDI standards, electronic data interchange. So e-procurement has started coming at that time as well. So it's not, e-procurement was not there. I know with the internet it became much more faster, but in the good old days we had EDI concepts. So e-procurement was there around. Later on came e-commerce, and with the e-commerce we started using emails and started doing procurement through those things around. Later on, with the advent and improvement of internet technologies, I think we never looked back then. The whole thing which we were calling as procurement, it came into different aspects, like sourcing became e-sourcing, tendering became e-tendering. If I'm trying to compare the prices around, I went to e-reverse auctions. When I was managing the contract in the good old days in a per CPM formats, it became now contract management around. So various wide tools came around under the e-procurement as well. So friends, this is a very interesting subject. And now when we talk of e-procurement, it's nothing but we're talking of transformation or digitization of the procurement itself. So when we do the digitization of procurement, the next step comes the whole transformation part. So the transformation part, which is not talking of a particular process, we're talking of the entity as a whole. And that's a complex one. And now we are moving into the concept of blockchain technology, which I'm working very closely with Economic Times. We're doing a workshop on that. So you can imagine the whole journey has started from a paper-based, e-commerce, EDI, e-procurements, and before that we had ERPs around. Then e-procurement as it came as a very specialized for procurement people. And now we are going to move in the later stage into blockchain technology. You can imagine the journey is very wide. And since I've been involved in all of these activities, I enjoy it and I think it is very close to my heart. With this, friends, again, I welcome you and thank you all for joining us. And as I said to you, it's a very wonderful response we have. More than 300 people have registered for this. So what my plan is to cover this presentation. I know the time is short. I'll take up 45 minutes to present it. And then last, I will have some quiz. We have received some questions, but they are the questions more related to artificial intelligence and digitization. So I'll try to give some dimension on that, some flavor on that, what exactly it is all about. Well, friend, with this, let me move further. So the learning objectives which we have kept for today's session is obviously first to start with what is e-commerce, e-business, e-procurement. Are the same thing? Are the different things around? The next comes, why should I invest in e-procurement? Even in India, we find still, around 35–40% people have moved into e-procurement, but there are still a wide number who are still doing in a very traditional procurements around. Because the problem in some cases, in the case of management, they think procurement is all about spending money, that's all, and getting the lowest price. But how to make it much more transparent, how to make it much more cost effective, those ideas are coming in, the mindset is changing. So we expect e-procurement is going to prosper in the years to come. So the next come identifying your needs around. When we talk of e-procurement, what exactly you're looking around? Are you only looking for e-sourcing? Are you looking for P2P? Are you looking for sourcing to payments? What exactly you're looking for? The right e-procurement solution, implementing the initiative and the best practices around, we'll talk of it. In short, I would say the objective what we have is uncover insights into diffusion of procurement innovation. That's what we're trying to do. This gives you again the overview of the presentation, understanding the e-procurement, get familiar with the tools, the wide range of tools. And in the center you can see there's a buyer one side, there's a supplier other side, and internet is the one which is connecting them around. While before internet we have EDI, we have those concepts were there around. Let's first try to understand what exactly is e-commerce. So before e-procurement we started on, e-commerce was there around. Electronic buying, marketing, selling, all electronically around. I could go online, look at the catalogs, pick up the item, put into my cart, pay the money. That's a commerce. Now in the case of e-business is nothing but using electronic information to improve the performance, create values, enable the new relationship between business and their suppliers. So it could be B2B, B2S, C, B2 this, all those things were there around. So this gives you a very summarized definition of these ones around. So e-commerce, as I explained to you, is nothing but buying and selling. Many people have come up around. In the good old days, you know, eBay has there. Many companies have come up in India for buying and selling and transferring the funds and data with an electronic network. So you basically need a mobile phone. You don't need a software per se, but those companies have got everything and you're buying and selling there. Now e-business is nothing but the application of ICT. So that's where we're looking around. Electronic technology could be internet, could be extranet, intranet. I'm sure you're all conversant with this, and websites. Now here shows you the concept of e-commerce. You can imagine the client side, there's an internet, there's a firewall, and the other side, the server side is and then you are basically getting on this side when we're showing the computers, it could be even a mobile phone, and then you can do it because the technology has also become mobile oriented now. So you have the service systems, you have the backend systems, the database are there around which are updated on a regular basis, updating the specs, updating the prices, updating the delivery time, everything is there. But then in between is a firewall. This is how any e-commerce works around. Internet, intranet, extranets, I think we all know, so I just skipped this one. So now come first, let's understand what is procurement before I start the word e-procurement. Procurement is nothing but the process of sourcing products and services from the point of supply to the point of demand. There's a supply side, there's a demand side. I get the goods and provide up to the demand point. So that's a procurement chain. So the procurement chain is much longer, and the procurement itself has evolved now to supply management. The scope becomes much bigger. Look at the traditional, which gives you a very good idea around, and I've seen those days. Any procurement, you guys, you go around flooded with papers. So the guy, even if they want to leave in the evening, can't because the papers are piling up one after another. Today the paper tables are clean. So when we go as a consultant to many companies around, if we see too much of paper, we get a fairly idea they're very traditional because everything has to be today paperless. So we can imagine from this generation of, you can say 80s or 90s, and today is in 2000s, everything is becoming paperless. And the change is happening in a big drastic way. I came to India only 7-8 years back after working 25 years abroad. I find a major change here. When I left India, now I see it's a major change coming around. Look at the typical manual process around. The purpose of showing you is how e-procurement is going to help us on this. Specifying the requirements. Instead of writing down every time, I could have the pool of requirements, standardize the requirements in the database. I can pull from there. Then we are looking at its price, availability, and other factors. And used to be very, you can see the guy with the phone calling around. And if in the government sector, you're trying to get competitive bids in a sealed forms. In the private sector, you're trying to call and send messages around. And then after you got some idea about how much is this, who are the players around, then you create a requisition in-house. You've got the budget idea. Requisition has to be approved. obtain the offers from suppliers, evaluate the offers from suppliers, select the suppliers, complete this, approve the POs, send the POs, check orders, review the invoice process. You can imagine there are 17 steps. My purpose of showing this was, I remember when I get transferred from Copenhagen to New York, I had to get the business card, and there were 15 steps. I'm talking of 1990 around. So this is imagine, you can imagine the procurement has been very labor intensive. Steps are enormous. The cycle time obviously is going to be longer. So the same activities, if you can do in a more electronic way, we can cut down a lot of it. So this shows you some way how e-procurement looks like. The one guy is sitting down, obtaining the offers from suppliers. Requisition is coming. It gets approved. Generating and managing the orders. Billing, system integration, finding suppliers, checking availability and price. So you can imagine with the software, all these activities could be integrated around. But keep in mind, if you want a procurement success, e-procurement success, certainly you need a wonderful technology. So those of you who are trying to move into e-procurements, but you need people also. People are the major hindrance which I have learned in my life when we were trying to implement ERP in 200 country offices worldwide. The biggest challenge is always people, the mindset of the people. So you need to change the mindset of the people at the policy level, at the operation level. You need to train them. It's not that they are against it because everybody wants a comfort level. The moment you bring something new, they feel that somebody may lose a job. That's the risk is always there around. Because once you bring a new technology, new organization structures, new working methods. So some people may lose job and some people don't, they're in a comfort zone. So naturally there's a change management project to me. I have spent 15-20% of our budget only on the change man, training the people around. I must have traveled most of the countries to train the people around, to make acceptance from them before we could launch ERP around. So in journey, if I look around, involves obviously electronic or data transfers to support operational activities, technical activities, strategic procurement when we talk of strategic sourcing around. So this has been around for long. It's not that this has come up only in 2000 or it's just come up after the internet, because internet came into maturity level by 94, 95. And at that time I was the head of the research and development of supply chain in Copenhagen. We were struggling with this EDI standards. And we had also problem was that we didn't have a lingua franca for procurement. So if I had to do some spend analysis, there was no coding system. And that's the time we developed initially the coding system called UNCCS, United Nations Common Coding System. And later on, with the help of the Norwegian government and Dun & Bradstreet, we developed UNSPSC. This is my baby, which I started from scratch, United Nations Standard Product Standard Classification, which today is a standard coding system for whether it's Oracle, whether it's SAP, everywhere it's used around. Now from 60s to 90s, it was all about EDI, but nowadays with the internet technology coming to a very advanced level, I think they are much more prevalent today. If you look at the whole e-procurement, so e-procurement was initially was the traditional, then came around the electronic systems around, we came with ERPs, we came with electronic commerce, personal computers, then internet as a communication tool also become as a part of e-procurement. So you can see the journey how it has gone through. And today, as you know, we're talking of e-procurement as a process of digitization. Digitalization, I would say there's a difference. I'll try to clarify. There's a word called digitization, there's a word called digitalization, and then there's a transformation of digital procurement. So now we are moving into those activities around, and with the time to come with the blockchain technology, I expect the transformation process will become much faster. You can imagine how this is. I mean, the e-procurements, electronic catalogs. So EDI is still existing but dying. I mean, very few companies who want to control their information, they don't want anybody to hack up their information, they're still using it. Let's understand e-procurement in a bigger picture now. We got two pillars around, sourcing, buying. So sourcing is the one you may call as a strategic sourcing. So you could call e-sourcing, and that's where I'm trying to do my spend analysis, managing the spend, define the sourcing strategy, qualify the suppliers, negotiate the contracts, and manage the contract. So it also has e-tendering or e-sourcing or e-auction. They're all part of it. You could have this around. So this is one pillar. The other part is, so this is the strategic function where I'm trying to make long-term arrangements, framework agreements with various suppliers, supplier of goods and services. The other pillar is buying. And the buying you could call as a purchasing. This is why you could call buying, you could call purchasing, and the word procurement covers both. So procurement is a much wider term, while purchasing is the one is ensuring compliance. I get the need, I get the requisition. Already the sourcing team have identified the supplier. Sourcing team has assured, they have negotiated a good deal with them. I create a requisition. I get the approvals online, and I get the purchase orders. I make it up. So the whole process is to ensure compliance with what sourcing has done. I'm not saying 100% will happen like this, because sourcing can cover up to 70 to 80% of the procurement, fix up the long-term arrangement, but there are sometimes urgency comes in, something else comes in, and the buying team takes care. And this part we call as P2P. Other one we call sourcing side, we call sourcing S to C, contract. And if you want to combine the both, then you can say sourcing to payments. You can go up to that. So if you understand the e-sourcing now, so e-sourcing is a process of researching, negotiating with suppliers. Current sourcing has two main functions. So it has RFQs, RFX, whatever you may call around, and online auctions, reverse auctions. This has again become very, very popular in the last 5-6 years. I remember when I came in India, this was still in the beginning, infant stage around. Today, many companies, wherever I go, more of the companies are started using the reverse auction. They have the shortlisted supplier, they use the reverse auction, e-auction, and find the best one. Now, so what is the e-procurement? So e-procurement, if I look at the last definition here, is a collective term for a range of technologies that can be used to automate the internal and external processes associated with sourcing and buying. So it's a collective thing. So it is not only e-sourcing, it is not simple e-buying or P2P. E-procurement is a collective term for a range of technology. So I hope this makes very clear to you what exactly is the e-procurement. So E is nothing but electronic. This gives you again same canvas technology-wise. So you have S to C, because in between we have a contract management, and other side is P2P. So if I have to summarize again, e-procurement is a tool to e-enable procurement activities. The one which I was doing with papers, it is trying to e-enable the procurement activities, including the sourcing part, ordering part, commissioning part, receiving part. The goods are coming online. Somebody is sending me the receipt. Somebody is approving the goods have been received and found okay. Even up to e-invoicing in some countries have been allowed. In the US it is allowed. So you could have, I'm sure in India we'll have soon. So e-invoicing can also come online and making the procurement for the whole spectrum of an authority. The prime objective is to enable the management of supply chain. That's what we're looking at. If I summarize the same way, now starting from the selection up to payment, the entire supply chain, from selection of the product to receipt, is all about it. So it has activity like selection, requisition, approval, status, receipt, pay. So it covers the whole chain. Now when it comes to the trends that contributed to the growth of this, I would say the major was obviously the international competition, globalization, and along with globalization, technology also played a key role around it. Evolution of procurement technologies, relationship between the buyer and supplier. In the good old days, the companies were very horizontal. Today, they become very vertical. So with the vertical functions around supplier, buyers, many of the companies, top company I see in India is around 60 to 70% of their sales revenue comes from tier 2, tier 3 companies around. So relationship between supplier and buyers evolved around. So one side the relationship, one side the technology, both put together has led to development of a wonderful value chain. So this is where, if you can see the pyramid of growth. Next comes, why should I invest into this? Obviously, some people think, and I can also feel same way, when we were struggling, even in the UN, we spent quite a big amount in those days, around $70 million to cover 200 country offices. When we were looking at an ERP, and ERP had procurement as a module part, we used to call supply chain management as a module, the cost was very enormous. Training concept was very high. 10% of our budget was going into training. But now with the cloud mechanism, this has become easier, I would call it. So in times of, I would say this is the best way to digitize your activities around and then get intelligence out of it. Do some spend analysis, do something of this. Otherwise, in a manual way, it is impossible. I mean, small companies can do with a spreadsheet, but if you're getting into the bigger company, your activities are much bigger, so you need all this. Actually, I would put it in this way, even when we started with the ERP, I knew that when we talked to the technical people, they say everything is feasible. They never said no. But the cost of customization in ERP is enormous. So then we found later on, if we want to really do a good job, because ERP was helping a lot good thing at the enterprise level for the finance people. But if you want to do a lot of improvements into procurements, and you want real-time information for everything, and you want to automate many of the activities around, you need an e-procurement around. So I would advise, it's a wonderful tool. I think one should look for it depending on how much suppliers they're dealing around, how much type of goods they're buying around, how big is the business around. I think this is important. This will move toward digitalizations, and then later on you can think of transformation of your activity. And this could be called as a smart procurement also. So the benefits which I look around, obviously the transactional benefit, cut down the cycle time. I'm able to leverage my procurements. Till I didn't have e-procurements around, every country office was buying. Only at the end of the year when I was trying to compile data, which was not an easy job, when we were doing a procurement of $15 billion, collecting the data, looking around, the same guy might be buying from the same company. One country, another country office buying from the same company. Very difficult to look back. So now with the e-procurement and with the coding system like UNSPSC, there are wonderful transactional benefits around. The next came on the compliance part. A lot of people were spending on a maverick spends. Now more and more procurement is going through procurement department. I would say 80 to 85% procurement, whichever I had done the survey in India, procurement is going through procurement department. Otherwise, earlier, I'm the budget owner. I know from where to buy. And they used to spend of their own. They thought procurement was only paper pusher. But now I think the concept is changing. Activities are going to the procurement. So all maverick spends is being cut down. And even if maverick spend is there, but then they are against approved suppliers, so something else. Obviously, the management information benefits, quality will, the data is improved, which is a major change I could call it. I remember my time when I was heading the research and development of supply chain in 89, 90. I was based in Copenhagen, and tons of data was coming from various country offices and coming with 3 languages in French and English and Spanish, and English also, whether it's an Indian English or an American English. The text, the way we write is all different. I think it helped us a lot by putting UNSPSC, by putting into the coding system, by putting e-procurement, quality of data improved a lot. So we could make some intelligence out of it around. Price benefits, certainly a long way. Each country office needs computer, each country office needs photocopier, each country office needs vehicles around. Those long items around which are repetitive procurements around, we could pool them together and get a wonderful deal for it. So those benefits were there. Payment benefits, certainly is inefficient. So that means if you know the payment terms in 30 days, online there's a three-way matching. Once three-way matching happens, and Treasury Department, they know very well this is matched, within 30 days, money is transferred around. So you can imagine the benefits enormous. It improves the job satisfaction also. Otherwise, the person looks that I'm doing a very clerical function. With this, I think your role becomes much more important, much more visible, and you become client-centric and they respect you. So, as I said earlier, improved process efficiencies, errors reduction with the e-procurements, better compliance, because once I have fixed up into the sourcing category, the particular suppliers, this is going to be better compliance. So you can imagine this is the way advantage will come up, enhanced leverage. I can pool the requirements from the worldwide, have a centralized approach of sourcing, but then I can decentralize for them to procure it if I make the e-catalog for them. Even the government of India has made now the catalog called GEM, Government Electronic Market. So you can imagine if the government is moving into those subjects around, so improved sourcing, I think it improved the sourcing. Connectivity, which was there in the good old days, we had EDI. Since I was involved in developing EDIFACT standards, the office was in Geneva, so we had activities to work with them. Many-to-one, one-to-many, now it's a website, I think. So EDI is becoming more or less obsolete, so that's the way. One-to-many. The e-procurement process, I mean, we all know the catalog concepts came around. I think we did in the beginning a wide range of catalogs with Dell and Office Depot and Staples. We used to have punch out with our ERP systems. So later on, many companies have worked here in India also. So they come up with their own catalogs of the products around. Many of the e-commerce companies, they have come up with their own catalog. The goods might be coming from a wide range of suppliers, but the catalog is one. Instead of having hundreds of suppliers catalog, you have one catalog which covers it. So here you can see end users. There's a catalog, and catalog is centralized with the suppliers, all connected, and there's a purchasing department. So you have the approved acquisitions, place orders, manage consolidations, analyze purchasing. The beautiful thing which I like about it is that you're able to analyze your data. If you don't know where your money is going, what category I'm spending on, which was impossible when I used to have 200 country offices around and working with this, e-procurement helped us a lot. So again, I don't want to say that e-procurement is only for the bigger country offices. No, even for a smaller country office, you want to know at the end of the day how much your money is spending, what activity you're spending, who are your key suppliers around. I think this will go a long way. The managing the e-catalog itself is a bigger thing. And so some people depend on the suppliers because they feel the specs are changing a lot. But some companies who are really catalog centric, they say, guys, we will make it. We have a team which will be updating it on a regular basis. And they do it around. I met one company recently. They update themselves around, manage it themselves. I know Burma Shell, Petroleums, BP. They're all, I've seen around, they maintain their own electronic catalogs for spares of drilling rigs and this and that. Building business case, I think you have, I would say there's a big business case on it. Looking at the time which I have seen since I've come from that generation, coming from the manual procurement orders to this orders, saving can be easily thought around 15-20% in this one. So I will say there's a big justification. If somebody needs some help, I will be very happy to support. The tools which are there for e-procurements, obviously electronic system to support traditional procurements, which are there. You know very well, ERPs, all electronic systems, EDIs, ERPs, Internet as a tool, electronic mails, web-based, web-enabled EDI, worldwide webs. They're all the procurement tools around. The main thing comes in e-procurement, which people normally get scared of, is security and data sharing. They don't want to share their data. They are worried about the security, but this part also has changed over the time. I've seen from 89, and when the internet became much more matured, starting from those days, I've been very much actively involved in all these activities around. I think it has improved a lot. When I look at the security breaches which happen, the data at source could be, you can have authentication through digital certificates. Data in transit also, you have again encryption there. Data at rest, even if it is stored somewhere around, there is data hashed around. So you can imagine there's encryptions, there's an authentication, security is there around. So the breaches chances are, I would say, negligible. Now, when it comes to priority of deployment part, where should I start? Some will say, guys, I want to start with tendering system. Somebody will say, no, I want with the pricing engines around. The reverse auction I want to have first. Somebody say, no, I want to set up a catalogs around. Somebody say, I want to have supply management, the whole chain around. So some people have moved into the reverse auction. Many companies in India find they're moving into reverse auction while the process is very simple, the manual process, but the reverse auction they're doing with the help of outsiders, they're doing on a regular basis. Electronic tendering system is becoming, I would say, very important around. Government of India has made it mandatory now. I think this will improve the transparencies. All the state governments, I had a chance to work with Mizoram government. Now this is becoming a must. That means all offers have to come at one side and nobody has an access to it before a particular day and time. And it will be downloaded with a team around. So that means people have started moving into this in bits and pieces. So I'm not saying that you have to jump totality. Start from bits and pieces, get the comfort level with that, and once you get the comfort level, you can expand the role of your e-procurement. And then lastly, you can go into the supply management. It covers all processes around. That's how you can go. This gives you the client computers, how the catalog application part, application server provider. This is also important nowadays to know. We have, let me straight jump into this. Now here we got various catalogs around, separate catalog, aggregated catalogs around. So if I'm the buyers, I'm walking into different suppliers. But here the companies, like I was telling you, the British Petroleum, they've aggregated catalogs and the buyers are able to access it. Relationship between the parties, suppliers and buyers, they're all going through the one internet trading exchange. Now here shows e-procurement tools are there. But before I explain the role of each one, what to do and where to do, let's understand the category of purchase. We can divide the procurement into 2x2 matrix. And all of us, I think we know the Pareto analysis, 80-20. If any one of you list down all your procurements in a descending orders, let's say you have 100 contracts, 100 purchase orders. I can assure you, all of you, that you take the top 20 contracts will cover 80% of the values and bottom 80% of the contract will cover 20%. That's what it decides the line vertical here between. Then you can also have another line horizontal one in between, depending on the risk. Risk is no risk, low risk, medium risk, high risk. Let's say I've got tons of suppliers. Obviously, I've got no risk. If one supplier leaves me, I can go to the second one. But if I have a situation where I have only one or two suppliers, my risk goes up. So based on the risk and the expenditure, the softwares are available. Many companies have come up with beautiful softwares on this. And you can divide your spend into these on commodity level, at the item level, into these full boxes. So once you know which item falls where, your approach will change. So that means the routine items, low values, low risk. I would love to make an e-catalog. I would love to have e-catalogs for routine items, which are repetitive items I'm buying on a regular basis. Why not I negotiate, make an e-catalog, the way I was telling you around. We were buying computers everywhere, furniture everywhere, so we had those as a routine item. So we made the e-catalog for all of them. Anybody sitting anywhere could buy at the same rate, same price. But when I look at the critical item, where I've got only one or two suppliers in the whole world, I'm in the business of, let's say, computer making. I'm buying the chip from, let's say, Intel. There's only one supplier. It's a critical supplier. I'm not going to make a catalog for that. My approach is different. Similarly, when there's a high spend and low risk, I'll try to do the leverage around. There I could have e-catalogs around. I could have e-catalog of multiple choices and then do e-auction among them. I've got 5 suppliers, and the government also has done now the GEM. For each items, buying a photocopier, I've got 3 suppliers, 3 prices are there. Then I take the lowest price, and because my requirement is not 1 piece, my requirement is 100 pieces. I do a reverse auction, I try to do the leverage. I would call this approach as e-negotiation. You can imagine this philosophy will help you what to do when and where. And if items are non-standard, again critical approach, and they are very critical items, your approach will be different. When to use RFP, when to use RFQ, when to use this, all are explained here around. Now coming back to the implementation part. At the outset, obviously the e-procurement initiatives, when introduced, you need to train the people. So you can see in this picture, the training is very important. Don't jump up, I got an e-procurement system, but ultimately the people are the one who are going to make a success and failure. So you have to train the people, you have to explain the purpose, what advantage this will have, what benefit this will have for the organization, including their career as well. Everybody looks, what is for me? You're getting a new system, what is going to happen to my function? I think that part has to be resolved very quickly. Otherwise, people could lose their interest and results may not be as commensurate. When the e-procurement solution is up and running, that's the last thing. So take an initiative, select something, but keep in mind, any e-procurement solution, are you thinking of all activities? Are you going in bits and pieces? It has to match with your corporate objectives. That is very important around your corporate strategy. So you have to match with that. What type of information they are expecting from e-procurement? What type of data they are looking for it? What are the long-term objectives around this? So keeping the long-term, keeping the objectives, you have to take the e-procurement initiative. The 3 elements when you're trying to do e-procurement implementations, communication and change management, as I told you, performance. At the end of the day, the management is putting money into this. They are going to expect from you guys, okay, we spent so much, what are the return on this? You have to do a wonderful performance measurement. You have to show to the management, we have changed this. Our processes have changed now. Keep in mind, just getting an e-procurement, the world is not going to change. You have to change your process as well. If you're using the old processes and trying to bring a technology, results won't be that meaningful as would have been if you change the process also. If having a 17 steps, and then on 17 steps you say, guys, my e-procurement will do this, and I see a lot, particularly many of the old companies in India also. Well, sir, we can't change the process around. Process is written down like a Bible. So guys, now you have to bring e-procurement, you can't change it. So please, I think we have to sit it down. We should be open to change. We have to change the mindset. And the lastly is impact on purchasing department. What impact it is having on purchasing? Build or pay. Some people say, guys, should I build my own? I should get a software, pay the licensing fee, have my set of servers. I have gone through that stage. When I look back today, I feel that's a dinosaur. So nowadays, outsourcing enables companies to access the very best e-procurement solutions. And you only pay for the slice what you do. And with the cloud system, it's becoming much easier. Whatever activities you want, you select it, try it, and you pay for the users. You don't need a big dinosaur having and spending money on this. So you could have a licensing model, you could have ASP models. I think this will help you how do we migrate to the cloud. This gives a beautiful cloud computing. The 4 choices around. One is the package software. You have your initiatives. You have everything yours. You basically manage from applications, data, runtime, middleware, operating systems, networking. Everything is managed by you. On the other side, on the right side, you see software as a service, which we call as SaaS, SaaS. So everything is managed by the vendor, and you pay for the users. So to me, it is more like in the first vertical, if I look around, is having your own car, maintaining it on a regular basis, having a driver for you, ensuring it works when you need. And the last one is more like Uber or Ola or whatever you may call around, more on the, whenever you need, you have an app, call the guy, use it, pay for the use. You can imagine the change is happening around. The software is more of a sharing things. Here, you own everything. I can understand that people have some concerns about the security part, that information may leak out. So some of the finance companies, still they want to stay with their own infrastructures, but some companies are moving into SaaS itself. The cost element broadly, I can tell you, is based on whatever data we have gone through. It covers around 10% of the licensing fee. And keep in mind the license they'll give it to you then after 5 years, 6 years, guys, oh, we are changing this whole thing around. Either you change with them, or you have to pay more licensing fee, cross-function sourcing team, maintenance costs on an annual basis, cost of creating and updating the content of the catalogs, and upgrade the strategies. So all these are costs behind it. So sometimes you may think, oh, I'm only paying 10% total cost as a license fee. But there are many other costs you have to add up before you make up your mind whether I should go this way, whether I should go by own infrastructures, or should I go with the SaaS way. Cost elements, again, linkage to ERP to this, reorganization structure, training cost is there, customization, software upgrades, project management, all these are costs. Project management, because whenever you want to make a change, it becomes like a project. You want to upgrade your system. Again, so these are the costs which are there, ongoing costs around. The practical tips, I would like to put it this way, think big, but start with the small. If you want to go into e-procurement, you want to go into, but start small, manage tightly, scale up fast. It is not about technology, but I would say more about the processes around. E-procurement will certainly challenge attitudes, change the way people work. If you have trained the people well, if you have explained them their career path, how it is going to be affected by this, what new skills are required by them, then I think this will be a great tool to the success around. Re-engineering the internal processes, again, I will focus on it. If you're not re-engineering, I think this may not give you reasonable results around. On the contrary, customization may cost you enormous. So e-procurement, now if I have to summarize, is nothing but electronic procurement. Sometimes people call supplier exchange. Is a B2B, B2C, B2G purchase, sale of goods, work, services through internet. One could call EDI, but EDI is, I've not put the word, as well as other information such as electronic, EDI, and ERP. So that's it. Summary, I would put it this way: e-procurement has a significant role to play in the future of procurement and its advancement. It should not be seen as a cost cutter, but as a strategic function, which can have a real impact. One should not say, okay guys, now I got the e-procurement, has my prices gone down? I think look at a strategic function. I'm able to aggregate my requirements. I'm able to do better strategy. I'm able to come out with how is my spend part. So think as a strategic function. Don't look that I'm going to cut the cost credit. So is rolling. The question is all about what should I ask? Should I jump onto this bandwagon or should I be more under its wheels? That's what you have to see. So in short, I would say there's not much choice for the medium company and the large company to go for this. This concept, because many people have raised some question before, they're sent to us. What is digital transformation? What is digitalization? What is transformation? So to me, the digitization is a conversion. If you remember in the good old days, we used to scan the documents. You are scanning when you're digitizing it. You're converting from analog to digital. But that was not digitalization. Digitalization is a process. Like P2P is a process. S to C is a process. So those processes we are calling as digitalization. So keep in mind, so I included this because some people raised this question in advance. So digitization, digitalization, and the last is transformation. Now my request is that if you have done the digitalization by implementing P2P, and now I want to transform into digital transformation, it is not the procurement alone. All other activities which are falling in the periphery of procurement, with whom procurement deals with it, it's a business as a whole. So you need to transform that part. So keep in mind, digital transformation goes more than that. And that is the most complex thing. Up to digitalization is fine. I can have a system, anything I do, sourcing, all information available digitally. I make a purchase order, all information is available. I send an email, is all available digitally. So, but transformation is the most complex issues around. And this is where I feel the new technologies are coming around. So digitization has been for the last 4 decades. Then it's coming the artificial intelligence. One other person has sent us a query in advance. To me, artificial intelligence is an important part of digital touch. If I don't have digital informations, how can I use artificial? I have got a self-driving car. So all data are coming in. So in short, the big data which is coming in, so AI becomes the extension of the big data and then make a decision of its own, which human being used to do it around. So artificial intelligence, they make a decision whether should I take a left turn or right turn or should I go for it. Same way in the product, in the procurement. Should I place an order? To whom should I place an order? When should I place an order? That AI could place an order. And one person has even asked about it, what impact this will have on the jobs around. Certainly, this is going to improve the profile of the procurement people. We need more better skills around. That's how I can look around. So people will have to tighten themselves to learn the new skills around. Otherwise, they will lose the race. That's all I can say. Digital transformation is obviously one more complex challenge, as we were talking. But the integration of IoT, Internet of Things, blockchain makes it much easier. And the blockchain is still in a very infant stage. IoT has moved a lot. People are talking around 15, 16 billion things are connected, very hyper connected, I can call around. But once the blockchain comes up, the digital transformation process could also move forward. So in short, I would say digital transformation of procurement is no longer an option, it's imperative. So I think e-procurement is part of it. Move into this, important around. And lastly, I would say about artificial intelligence, because this is where we are going. The internet has helped many people become very wealthy. The next boat is here with artificial machine learning. Are you going to miss this boat around? So this is all getting into that. Artificial intelligence, again, deep learning, machine learning, whatever, whenever you are doing, if you don't understand it, learn it, because otherwise you are going to be a dinosaur within 5 years. People are trusting artificial intelligence. If I can sit in a car which is self-driven, that means I'm trusting them. So time is coming, and this effect will come in procurement. And I took this line because some people have raised, sent me the question, how e-procurement is moving into this, digitization is moving into this. So I thought I should summarize with this. Well, friend, this subject is never ending. This is growing in a very fast speed. So when I look from my journey from 70s till 90, this was a very slow pace, no change. But now when I see from the last 15 years, 16 years, the growth is many-folds. So this is why when I said 5 years, I had to think around whether should I say 5 years or 15. But I think change is happening. So please keep it up. I think this will go a long way. And lastly, but not the least, I want to thank you all for your patient hearing. I think this gives me much more encouragement with the type of coverage we are getting today.